The NBA is a league of superstars, and while our Twitter feeds are filled with updates about LeBron James and Zion Williamson, many lesser-known NBA players go largely unheralded for their work on the court. Today I'm hoping to put some shine on some of the league's underappreciated players, this time in the Western Conference. I already have an Eastern Conference video live on my channel, so if you haven't already seen it, I recommend you go check it out. But for now, let's focus on one underappreciated player from each Western Conference team. From the Dallas Mavericks, Seth Curry. Seth Curry's 12-2-2 stat line certainly doesn't explode off the page, but the Curry family recipe is working for Seth with his 45% three-point percentage. Curry is a perfect complement for Luka Doncic. Curry is capable of bringing the ball up and operating the offense when Luka needs a break, but can also operate very well off the ball alongside Luka as a deadly three-point threat. Curry is on the books for the Mavericks for the next 3 seasons on a very reasonable contract. So he factors in for them for the next several years, and if they ever did need to clear up cap, at his efficiency he'd be a very easy contract to move. From the Denver Nuggets, Jeremy Grant. Grant is a player handcrafted for the modern NBA. At 6'8", Grant hits the long ball with consistency at 38% from three-point land. His height and shooting ability alone gives him a solid place in the NBA. But on top of that, Grant is a solid defensive addition to any NBA team. A long, multi-positional defender, Grant is a good defensive answer for many of the league's star forwards. Grant played very well in the bubble, and it wouldn't be a surprise to see him opt out of his $9 million player option and test the waters of free agency this offseason. From the Golden State Warriors, Eric Pascal. I was under the impression that the entire Golden State Warriors franchise took the year off, but apparently they played basketball this year. Eric Pascal made the all-rookie team, and his stat line of 14-5-2 is beefy, especially considering that he was a second-round pick. Head coach Steve Kerr has pointed out the similarities between Pascal and Draymond Green, and if Pascal can carve himself out a career anything like Draymond Green, we will hear his name for many years to come. From the Houston Rockets, Ben McLemore. By the end of his rookie contract in Sacramento, Ben McLemore had fallen into the scrap heap of botched Kings lottery picks. At times, he had seemed like a competent scorer, but the NBA future of McLemore seemed to be in question. Houston has become a home for wayward shooters in the NBA, and McLemore is the perfect example of the success of this system. He chipped in 10 points a game on 40% three-point shooting. McLemore is a good addition to any bench mob and a solid spacing complement for Russ or for James Harden. From the Los Angeles Clippers, Landry Shamet. Back before the Clippers acquired Kawhi Leonard and Way Off P, the Clippers had a reputation as a team full of dogs. As a rookie, Landry Shamet was traded into that team full of dogs and quickly certified himself to be a proven big balls of steel shooter, draining a clutch 3 in the playoffs to give the Clippers a win over the OP Curry Durant Warriors. In his sophomore season, Shamet regressed slightly from the three-point line, but still put up respectable numbers from distance. Plus, he's got certified big balls of steel. JaVale McGee! 3-time NBA champion JaVale McGee is a 3-time NBA champion. Gaining his 3rd championship this year, McGee is clearly climbing his way further up the GOAT conversation, putting up monstrous numbers of 6.6 points, 5.7 rebounds, and 0.5 assists. McGee shot an ultra-lethal 50% from 3 this season. No mean. Claiming his 3rd NBA championship this year, he probably passes up other 3-time NBA champions on the GOAT list. Other 3-time NBA champions like Larry Bird, Steph Curry, James Jones, Dwayne Wade are just the latest people McGee has passed over in the all-time ratings of NBA greats. From the Memphis Grizzlies, Tyus Stones. Unironically, this is maybe the #1 guy I've been excited to highlight in one of my videos since the very beginning of the channel. Tyus Jones is literally the perfect backup point guard. He straight up doesn't turn the ball over. He has averaged less than a turnover per game throughout his entire career. And this isn't just because he doesn't have the ball either. Tyus is a high-volume playmaker, averaging 4.4 assists this year. In just 19 minutes per game, he has some of the best court vision in the NBA. While he certainly operates best with the ball in his hands as a sixth-man leader of a bench mob, he also performs well as a secondary guard alongside Ja Morant. Tyus is a solid three-point shooter for when he needs to be off-ball. And with Ja's slashing style, Tyus is exactly the kind of guy adept to finding Ja open on his cuts to the rim. Not to mention, Tyus has quick hands, pulling away a steal per game, literally meaning he takes the ball away at a higher volume than he turns it over. Tyus Stones has led the league in assist to turnover ratio in back-to-back seasons. He's goated. He's goated. I don't know what I gotta tell him, but he's goated. He's the GOAT. Certifiably goated. There's no question. It's Tyus Stones, baby. From the Minnesota Timberwolves, Josh Okogie. I have a full player profile breakdown on Josh Okogie on my channel, what makes him so tremendous and why he's so valuable to the Timberwolves, and I encourage you to go check that full video out. But the simplest breakdown I can give you in short time here about what makes him so valuable to the Timberwolves is his non-stop effort. He's always active off the ball, and more importantly, he is a high-caliber perimeter defender who f***ed on James Harden. From the New Orleans Pelicans, Jackson Hayes. On a team with headline magnet Zion Williamson, all-star Brandon Ingram, and the always polarizing Lonzo Ball, Hayes' rookie season understandably flew under the radar. His numbers aren't super explosive. That being said, what he brings to his team is exactly what they need from him. Hayes is a good rebounder and a solid paint protector who can work well off the bench or well alongside Zion if needed. Zion will likely flex between the 4 and a small ball 5 throughout his career, and as long as Hayes is there, he's a good option to start at the 5 when Zion is at the 4. That being said, if they flex Zion into the 5, Jackson makes good sense as a high-energy guy coming off the bench. From the Oklahoma City Thunder, Lou Dort. Anybody who watched the Thunder Rockets series in this year's playoffs understands the appeal of Lou Dort. The guy may simply be the highest effort defender in the league. And in a league with defensive studs like Pat Bev, Marcus Smart, and Jimmy Butler, that's not a statement to be thrown around lightly. Lou Dort has some offensive deficiencies that need to be addressed, but as a rookie, he was assigned the role of Harden stopper in his very first playoff series. Lou Dort started the year on a 2-way contract, and through infinite hustle and incredible effort, worked his way into a 4-year deal. Also, Lou Dort, like Okogie, f***ed on James Harden. From the Phoenix Suns, Aaron Pain Train Baines. Simply put, Aaron Baines sets the hardest screens in the NBA. The dude is a brick shit house. Baines also does a solid job stretching the floor, shooting a very respectable 35% from 3. Baines put up 11.5 points per game, 5.5 rebounds, and 1.5 assists in just over 20 minutes per game on a surprisingly good Suns team. The road to an NBA championship right now goes through Anthony Davis, and all around the league we're seeing a resurgence in big men like Nikola Jokic, Joel Embiid, and Karl Anthony Towns. Baines is a free agent this offseason, and I wouldn't be surprised to see a lot of teams trying to secure his services for this upcoming season as a countermeasure against these resurging NBA big men. Also, the unofficial Aaron Baines fan club page on Twitter is one of the absolute must-follows of NBA Twitter today. From the Portland Trailblazers, Gary Trent Jr. Gary Trent Jr. was a second-round pick just 2 years ago, and this year he contributed over 20 minutes a game to a banged-up Trailblazers team. Trent was a highly efficient shooter with 44, 41, 82 shooting splits, and looks like he'll contribute substantial offense to the Trailblazers going forward. Just kidding, you stinky dummies. It's Melo, baby! Melo was out of the league, and he came back scoring over 15 points per game on efficient percentages on a veteran's minimum. The man is goated. The man is goated. Where's the respect? He's goated. Melo. Carmelo's Anthony. He's a walking bucket. From the Sacramento Kings, Buddy Hield. For some reason, Buddy Hield is highly underappreciated by the Kings franchise itself. The dude is a 20-point per game scorer who's an incredible volume shooter, but for some reason they pulled the reins back on him multiple times this year, telling him not to shoot his signature deep shots and running him out off the bench. I don't really see a way that Hield stays in Sacramento, even though he's a certified big balls of steel shooter. Buddy is straight up fun to watch, so whether or not it's in Sacramento, it's going to be interesting to see where Buddy ends up next season. From the San Antonio Spurs, DeMar DeRozan. Maybe picking a team's leading scorer as an underappreciated player is a bit of a stretch, but I don't think DeRozan gets the respect he deserves. Ever since he moved to San Antonio, he's been empowered to play his brand of basketball by Greg Popovich. After failing to efficiently add the three ball to his game in Toronto, Pop told him to just knock it off, and DeRozan's efficiency since has benefited. This last year, he shot a field goal percentage of 53%, while also getting over 5 boards and 5 assists per game. DeRozan is a well-rounded two-way player, playing on a team that doesn't need him to be a three-point threat. I won't be surprised to see if DeRozan reclaims an all-star spot if the Spurs manage to put together a good season this next year. From the Utah Jazz, Royce O'Neal. Royce is a very dependable 3-and-D player for the Jazz. A solid three-point shooter that complements Mitchell offensively, he's also a strong defensive wing who can be counted on to guard opposing guards and forwards. Royce spent almost his whole season in the Utah Jazz's starting lineup, and after signing a 4-year contract earlier this year, he looks to factor into the Jazz's plans for a long time. Well, that does it for the Western Conference edition of Underappreciated Players. Like I said earlier, I do also have an Eastern Conference edition up. If you haven't checked it out yet, go give her a shot. I do have a couple other videos on my channel now, and I've really been enjoying making them. So if you like this one, give those a go as well. And if you have any suggestions for upcoming videos, leave them down below. Stay lit, and thanks for watching.